the pure light, Lesson 2, How to Overcome Anxiety. Welcome back, petitioner. If you've made it to Lesson 2, that already tells us something. Most stop at curiosity. Few continue into discipline. As the old saying reminds us, many are called, yet few are chosen. Welcome, petitioner. This lesson addresses anxiety, but not as weakness, disorder, or personal failure. Anxiety is a state of misalignment, not a flaw. Both ancient philosophy and modern science agree on this point. When attention outruns the present moment, tension follows. The Egyptians observed it clearly and wrote, "The heart suffers when it leaves its place." Few are chosen approaches anxiety through structure, not suppression. Modern neuroscience explains anxiety as heightened anticipation combined with reduced grounding. The ancient texts describe the same condition without technical language. The mind wanders where the body does not stand. This teaching is reflected throughout the noosphere, where the architecture of the mind is explored as interconnected systems rather than isolated symptoms. Anxiety appears when those systems lose coordination, when perception, memory, imagination, and bodily sensation no longer move together. You may experience anxiety as restlessness, racing thoughts, or constant alertness. Or it may appear as sudden panic, intrusive images, or a sense of danger without clear cause. These are not separate problems. They are expressions of the same imbalance. One disorder wears many faces, the Egyptians noted. This lesson does not ask you to fight anxiety. Resistance amplifies it. It does not ask you to ignore it. Avoidance feeds it. Instead, this work teaches reorientation, returning awareness to where perception is accurate. In the inner architect, this is described as restoring the center of attention. When attention stabilizes, the mind no longer needs to signal distress. Science confirms this. Anxiety diminishes when sensory awareness and breath are brought into alignment. Egypt stated it simply, when the senses return, fear departs. You may notice that anxious states often coexist with scattered focus, difficulty settling, or mental looping. This overlap is well documented. Attention that jumps rapidly between thoughts increases internal noise. The ancients warned against this exact pattern. The mind that divides itself cannot rest. Few are chosen teaches that clarity is not achieved through intensity, but through consistency. This is emphasized in the healing journey of the soul, where emotional states are understood as signals requesting attention, not threats demanding control. As a petitioner, you are not asked to diagnose yourself. You are asked to observe. Notice where your attention goes when anxiety arises. Notice whether it moves forward into imagined outcomes, backward into memory, or fragments into multiple directions at once. What is seen clearly loosens, the old texts remind us. This lesson will guide you gradually, not into calm by command, but into steadiness by alignment. Anxiety fades when the mind returns to its proper relationship with the present. Remain here. Let understanding settle before action begins. The ground must be felt before the path is walked. Petitioner, remain attentive. Before anxiety can be eased, it must be correctly understood. Anxiety does not arise without cause, and it does not appear at random. It is a response to misalignment between attention and reality. Modern psychology describes this as anticipatory stress. Ancient Egypt observed the same condition and recorded it simply. The heart trembles when it leaves the present. Few are chosen approaches anxiety through structure and clarity, not suppression. Anxiety is not defeated by force, nor dissolved by distraction. It quiets when attention is returned to what is real and measurable. In the noosphere, this is explained through the interaction of mental systems, perception, memory, imagination, and bodily awareness. When these systems lose coordination, anxiety emerges as a signal. This applies to both forms of anxiety: the constant, low-level tension that never fully disappears, and the sudden, intense surges that feel overwhelming. Though they appear different, They arise from the same source. Attention moving faster than the body can confirm safety. The Egyptians noted this pattern long ago. Fear grows where sight cannot follow. In The Inner Architect, anxiety is described as the mind attempting to redesign reality before it arrives. This creates internal pressure. Science supports this. The brain reacts to imagined futures as if they are happening now. The body responds with tension, shallow breath, and heightened alertness. Egypt expressed the same truth without technical language. The body prepares for what the eyes do not see. As a petitioner, you are not asked to analyze anxiety or judge it. Judgment adds weight. Observation removes excess. Begin by noticing where your attention goes when anxiety appears. Does it rush ahead? Does it scatter? Does it repeat the same image or idea? What is observed loses its excess. The ancient texts remind us. In the healing journey of the soul, emotional states are treated as communications, not enemies. Anxiety is the mind requesting reorientation. When attention is restored to the present body, breath, sensation, balance, the signal begins to quiet. Modern studies confirm this. Grounding stabilizes the nervous system. Egypt summarized it simply: return the senses and the heart steadies. This lesson will not rush you into calm. Calm that arrives by force does not last. Instead, it will guide you into steadiness, step by step, so anxiety no longer dominates attention. The one who steadies the foundation does not fear the height. Petitioner, stay with this closely. This part may feel uncomfortably familiar. That's intentional. Anxiety often feels mysterious, but when examined carefully, it follows patterns, very specific ones. You may recognize yourself in what follows, not because this is personal, but because the mind behaves consistently when attention is misaligned. As the Egyptians observed, the same river floods every careless village. You may notice that anxiety appears most strongly when nothing is actually happening. You're safe, you're seated, there is no immediate threat. And yet the body feels tense, the chest tightens, the breath shortens. The mind begins reviewing conversations, replaying mistakes, anticipating outcomes that haven't occurred. That moment right there, that's the signal. Here is the first recognition. Anxiety is rarely about the present moment. It is about unconfirmed futures. Modern neuroscience confirms this. The brain does not distinguish well between imagined danger and real danger. Ancient Egypt noticed the same confusion and wrote, "The heart flees before the feet are chased." You may also recognize this pattern. You try to calm yourself by thinking more. Reassuring thoughts, explanations, logic. But the more you think, the louder the anxiety becomes. That's not failure, that's mechanics. Fire fed with air grows, the ancients warned. Thought feeds anxiety when attention is already unstable. Here is an important realization, and this is often the first aha moment. Anxiety is not soothed by answers, it is soothed by presence. Think about this carefully. When anxiety peaks, it is not asking for information, it is asking for grounding. This is why distraction sometimes helps temporarily. Scrolling, noise, movement, but never resolves the issue. The mind quiets briefly, then returns louder. Egypt summarized this cycle plainly. What is not settled returns. You may also notice anxiety disguises itself as productivity, planning, fixing, preparing, running scenarios. It convinces you that if you think long enough, you'll be safe. But safety does not come from prediction, it comes from orientation. The eye that looks everywhere sees nothing, the texts remind us. Here is another recognition that often lands deeply. Anxiety speeds up time internally. Minutes feel urgent. Thoughts stack. Decisions feel immediate, even when they aren't. Science shows anxiety alters time perception. Egypt recorded it without instruments. Fear shortens patience. When time collapses, clarity collapses with it. Now pause here for a moment. Notice your body, notice the jaw, the shoulders, the breath. This pause is not symbolic, it is corrective. When attention returns to sensation, anxiety weakens, not because it is defeated, but because it has lost the environment it needs to grow. This is where many petitioners experience another aha. You cannot think your way out of anxiety. but you can step out of its momentum. This is central to the inner architect and the noosphere. When mental systems overload, the solution is not more mental activity, it is redistribution. Attention must be moved, not forced, back into the body and present perception. You may recognize another pattern. Anxiety often speaks in certainty. This will happen. Something is wrong. I can't relax. Notice how absolute the language is. Egypt cautioned against this. The voice of fear speaks in absolutes. When you hear certainty without evidence, that pause alone weakens the pattern. And here is perhaps the most personal recognition of all. Anxiety often appears when you are alone with yourself, not because you are unsafe, but because silence exposes misalignment. Noise hides disorder, the ancients observed. When external noise fades, internal imbalance becomes audible. This lesson is not telling you something is wrong with you. It is showing you something is working too hard. Anxiety is effort without direction. And here is the final aha for this part. When you stop treating anxiety as an enemy, it stops acting like one. The moment you observe instead of react, the system begins to recalibrate. Science calls this regulation. Egypt called it harmony. If this part felt like it was speaking directly to you, that's not coincidence. These patterns are shared. What troubles one mind troubles many, the texts remind us. Petitioner, stop here. Do not listen passively to this part. Anxiety does not begin in thought. That is the first misunderstanding. Thought is only where anxiety becomes audible. In the Djehutic canon, fear originates before language, before interpretation, before memory. It begins when the inner system loses agreement about what time it is. The body lives in now, fear lives in before, anxiety lives in after. When time splits, the heart fractures, the ancients wrote. This is the root. Fear was never designed to imagine. Fear was designed to respond. When imagination overtakes perception, fear has no ground. It floats, and floating fear becomes anxiety. This is why anxiety feels unreal and overwhelming at the same time. Here is the realization most people have never had. Anxiety is fear without a location. Fear with a location is manageable. Fear without a location becomes endless. In the noosphere, this is described as faculties out of sync, the imagination racing forward while sensation remains behind. In the inner architect, it is described as structural failure, the warning system speaking without confirmation. Egypt said it with brutal clarity. The alarm rings when the watchman cannot see. Now listen closely. The inner pessimist is not your enemy. It is fear trying to finish a job it cannot complete alone. It keeps asking, what if? What if again? What if one more time? Not because it wants to torment you, but because it is waiting for perception to catch up. Here is the boom most people feel in their chest when it lands. Anxiety is fear waiting to be grounded. That's why reassurance rarely works. That's why logic fails. That's why calm down feels insulting. Fear doesn't want answers. Fear wants presence. This is why the ancients never tried to overpower fear. They anchored it. Tie fear to the earth and it becomes wisdom. One fragment states, now a practice that almost no one is taught. When anxiety rises, do not ask why. Why invites thought. Thought accelerates fear. Instead, ask this one question. Where is fear in my body right now? Not metaphorically, physically. Chest, stomach, throat, jaw. Wherever it is, stay there. This is not visualization, this is retrieval. When attention enters sensation, fear collapses into information. Modern science confirms this. The nervous system stabilizes when the body is felt. Egypt stated it without apology. Fear ends when the body is reclaimed. Here is another groundbreaking recognition. You cannot feel fear fully and think anxiously at the same time. One replaces the other. This is why Shuhain is listening, not silence. You listen until fear finishes speaking through sensation. When it finishes, something shocking happens. It stops, not because it was defeated, because it was completed. This is the point where many realize something unsettling and liberating. Anxiety was never trying to hurt you, it was trying to return you to the present. But without guidance, it only knew how to shout. The ancients warned about this exact moment. When fear is not taught, it teaches itself. Few are chosen exist to restore this instruction. Across the healing journey of the soul, fear is treated as a messenger. Across the noosphere, anxiety is treated as misalignment. Across the inner architect, stability returns when the system is reassembled, all preserved and produced in Egypt, where fear was studied, not denied. Now end with this directive. Do not rush it. Next time anxiety appears, do not flee it, do not fight it, do not label it. Bring it home, place attention in the body, let fear land, let it finish. Fear that arrives fully does not remain, the ancients wrote. Petitioner, remain steady here. Anxiety is not random and it is not mysterious. In the Djehutic understanding, anxiety arises when the inner faculties fall out of alignment. Breath moves in one direction, attention in another, and time itself becomes distorted. When this happens, fear fills the gap. The ancients described it simply: when the parts do not agree, the heart trembles. Fear is the oldest mechanism in the human system. It existed before language, before reason, before memory. Its purpose was survival. But fear was never meant to operate alone. When fear is not guided by perception and understanding, it turns inward and becomes anxiety. Fear without sight multiplies itself, the old text warn. This is where the inner pessimist emerges. The inner pessimist is not a flaw, it is not corruption. It is an ancient protective function whose task is anticipation. It scans for danger, imagines outcomes, prepares for loss. When balanced, it keeps the body alive. When unchecked, it never rests. The watcher who never sleeps sees danger everywhere, the Egyptians observed. This is why anxiety feels constant even when nothing is happening. Fear begins to speak in certainty. What if becomes it will. Possibility becomes inevitability. Modern psychology confirms this. The anxious mind treats imagined futures as present threats. The body responds accordingly. Breath shortens. Muscles tighten. Time compresses. Egypt recorded the same effect without instruments. Fear steals tomorrow and forces it into today. Here is an important recognition, one that often lands hard. Anxiety is not fear of the world. It is fear of what the mind keeps rehearsing. The mind outruns the body. Attention fragments. Thought accelerates. This fragmentation is described clearly in the noosphere, where the faculties of perception, memory, imagination, and sensation lose coordination. When imagination dominates perception, fear has no anchor. You may recognize this pattern. You replay conversations. You anticipate reactions. You imagine consequences without evidence. You feel urgency without cause. This is not weakness. It is misalignment. The ancients taught that fear must be listened to, not silenced. The heart cries louder when ignored, they wrote. Fear escalates when it is dismissed or fought. Anxiety grows when the warning voice is never heard to completion. Here is the central aha moment of this lesson. Fear does not calm when it is argued with. Fear calms when it is fully heard and grounded. This is where Suhain, the art of listening, becomes practical. Now, one exercise. Only one. Do not rush it. When anxiety appears, stop trying to calm it. Stop trying to fix it. Instead, place one hand on the body, anywhere, then ask quietly, what is fear trying to protect right now? Do not answer with thought. Let sensation respond. You may feel tightness, heat, pressure, movement. Stay with that sensation until it changes. Science confirms this. Attention placed in the body interrupts the anxiety loop. Egypt stated it without terminology. Fear dissolves when the body is returned to. Another realization follows naturally. Fear cannot survive sustained presence. It needs imagination. It feeds on anticipation. It weakens when attention returns to what is real. This is why anxiety fades when the mind stops running ahead of the body. The heart steadies when the feet are felt, the inscriptions say. Few are chosen teaches this across the inner architect and the healing journey of the soul. Fear is not conquered, it is integrated. When the faculties realign, anxiety loses authority. End with this directive and do not rush past it. Remain here. Return attention to breath. Let fear finish speaking. Then listen for what remains. When fear rests, clarity enters, the ancients taught. Petitioner, slow down here. This part is not meant to be rushed. Think about your life for a moment. Not the highlights, not the titles, not the labels. Think about the obstacles, the delays, the losses, the moments you had to become cautious, the moments you learned to hold back, the moments you told yourself, this is just how I am now. The ancients warned us about this quietly. A man is not shaped by the stone that blocks him, but by the path he abandons. Now listen carefully. For once, do not think about who you are because of those obstacles. Do not define yourself by what happened to you. Do not measure yourself by what you survived. Instead, ask this and let it hurt a little. Who would you be if none of those obstacles had ever occurred? Not in fantasy. In essence, who would you be if fear had never learned how to speak in your voice? Who would you be if caution had never dressed itself as wisdom? Who would you be if anxiety had never convinced you that protection meant limitation? That person still exists. The Egyptians knew this truth deeply. They wrote, "What is essential is not created by circumstance, nor destroyed by time." Fear did not make you cautious. Fear made you smaller, and anxiety did not make you realistic. It made you rehearsed. Here is the hardest realization, the one people avoid their entire lives. Anxiety is often fear wearing the mask of responsibility. It tells you it's protecting you. It tells you it's preparing you, but slowly, quietly, it convinces you to live below your capacity. The ancients did not condemn fear, they instructed it. They understood that fear, left unchallenged, begins to decide who you are allowed to become. And they warned us, that which guards too tightly becomes a prison. Now hear this, not as encouragement, but as truth. You are not anxious because you are weak. You are anxious because there is more in you than you are currently allowing yourself to live. Anxiety often rises right before expansion, right before change, right before growth. Fear appears not when you are incapable, but when you are standing near your own edge. That edge is not danger, it is transition. The Djehutic teachings preserved in the Inner Architect and the Healing Journey of the Soul remind us of this clearly. Fear guards the threshold of transformation. So now, do this, and do not rush it. Take one breath, and decide, just for this moment, to be the person you would have been if fear had never convinced you to shrink. Not reckless, not careless, but unhidden. You do not overcome fear by destroying it. You overcome fear by outgrowing its authority. Anxiety fades when fear realizes it no longer decides the limits of your life. The Egyptians wrote it simply and without drama. When the heart stands upright, fear kneels. Few are chosen exist to remind you of this forgotten posture, not through motivation alone, but through disciplined understanding preserved in the noosphere, the Inner Architect, and the Healing Journey of the Soul, all translated and produced in Egypt, where fear was studied as a force of nature, not a flaw of character. More teachings continue through the Pure Light tapes, made for the few, at fewarchosen.co.uk. End this lesson with this, and carry it with you. You are not the sum of what frightened you. You are the sum of what you did not become yet. Now begin, like the video, share it with someone standing at their edge. Subscribe to Few Are Chosen and follow us on all social media platforms. Remain a petitioner. The life beyond fear has been waiting.